Welcome. You're listening to the Home Yoga Practice Source podcast, where yoga is a practice and practice is everything. I'm Christine. I'm the founder of Healing Yoga and the Home Yoga Practice Workshop. But most of all, I'm a longtime home yogi. I'm a yoga guide as well. And today I will be talking with Dr. Chitra Eder. Chitra, welcome.
Thank you. So wonderful to be here. Thank you, Christine, for inviting me to join you on your podcast.
Well, we've had so many wonderful conversations together, both setting up for this and then interacting with one another's practices, that I just knew I had to have you. Chitra is an Ayurvedic doctor with over 30 years of expertise, creating solutions for modern people, translating ancient wisdom. She is based in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and touches the lives of women and men around the world as an advocate for women's health and the root cause solutions provided by Ayurveda. Chitra specializes in peri through post-menopause, utilizing Ayurveda specifically. As she says, menopause is inevitable, but the symptoms are entirely optional. In a world where women are often asked to be superheroes, Chitra guides them through the natural, and I love that you highlight the natural changes that our bodies undergo during peri through postmenopause, translating ancient Indian practices into the context of contemporary American life. As a practicing Ayurvedic physician, she bridges the gap between traditional wisdom and modern woman's experience with individualized solutions. The key is translating these practices into the intricacies of an individual's life, recognizing that there is no one-size-fits-all approach to well-being. Chitra offers lifestyle consultations and Ayurvedic therapies such as Abhyanga, Shirodhara, and Panchakarma, providing a holistic approach to well-being. Welcome, Chitra. Once again, I am glad you are here. You and I have had a couple of really rich conversations about the role of yoga practice as part of dinacharya, and as dinacharya as embedded in larger natural rhythms. Would you give us your layperson's explanation of what dinacharya is and why you think it's so vitally important?
Oh, I would love to. So a lot of times we as Ayurvedic practitioners will use Sanskrit, and it's a little challenging for the layperson to understand it. Sometimes it's even challenging for us to speak the word itself. But dina means day, basically. And charya, there's lots of ways to handle that particular piece. You could say acharya, so it could be day teaching, which is a really interesting way of looking at it. But what it really means is, what it translates into is our daily routines, what we do every single day. And that informs us of how our lives and our health is going to be. So, right now we're going into the holiday season, where everybody's schedule is very, very different. So we get stressed out because the schedule itself just changes. We just went through this time change. And again, another way, it's like having jet lag, for a little bit. And dinacharya teaches us how to manage our day to day to day, so that we do not stress out. It starts out by how we wake up in the morning, what we do as far as exercise or yoga, how we shower, how we clean our insides, how we clean our outsides, how we nourish ourselves, and then how we go to sleep, and what kinds of sleep we want to do, and all of the things that stabilize us out so that we can deal with the rest of our lives.
Oh, so eloquently put. I think it's so powerful that Ayurveda focuses on what these activities that really in modern culture, I feel like they've become almost throwaway activities, right? The way we clean our teeth, the way we shower, care for our skin, how we nourish ourselves. And this flips that on its head and says, no, fine, if you feel like it, great. Go for a massage and a pedicure for all that self-care stuff, right? But true self-care, right? In the Yoga Sutras, the word of what we're connecting to through our practice is self. And of course, it means something bigger than just me, but what we're going for is self-care. And it flips the sort of debasing of caring for our very bodies and says, no, this is sacred and it's worth your attention.
Exactly. It is.
Sacred is my term.
I love the word sacred. Without us having that sense of sacredness of self, body, mind, spirit, we can just blow with the wind with whatever comes along. We're not stable. We're not connected, and that invites disease. That invites mental health issues. It invites so many social issues when we are not stable within our sacred selves.
Yes. How would you see a yoga practice in general fitting into a general dinacharya?
Oh, so let me start off with exercise as Ayurveda sees it, and what yoga is to Ayurveda as well. So we'll start off with that piece. So some people say that yoga is the sister science to Ayurveda. And yoga is actually a philosophy because, as you know, it's not all about asana, the positions, right? That is simply a vehicle for you to get into a different space. So when we're talking yoga, the higher levels of yoga, it is in complete alignment, and that's where the sister sciences happen, because Ayurveda will take from the yogic philosophies, because health does not happen without having the full body, mind, emotional, spiritual aspects cared for, right?
Wow.
So when we look at it from the asana perspective, or maybe even the pranayama, the asana meaning the postures, the pranayama, the breathing exercises, Ayurveda will utilize yoga as part of the healing process. It will put it into the space of the dinacharya, and it will also change it according to season or according to individual needs. So let me get into that exercise piece, because you and I have the same concerns about certain types of yoga practices that are happening these days. Ayurveda says that you should not be exercising more than 50% of your capacity. Now, what does that mean? We here in the United States think more is better. We have to push harder, do more constantly. What we are saying is let us work with the body's intelligence. So do 50% of your capacity every single day at the same time every single day. And then your capacity will increase rather than the exercise drawing you into an excessive place, which eventually will lead to tiredness.
So you're not saying never go heavy, or never exert, or never lift heavy things, or do a practice that challenges you. You're saying at least in part. And actually, I think we could talk for hours about this. You're saying practice with attention to the breath, because your breath will guide you. Don't out yoga your breath, and your capacity expands. That's the piece that I think is so often missed. So often missed. So sorry, please go ahead.
Oh no, you put it so beautifully. I love that. Don't go beyond your breath. That's beautiful. Because the breath is actually the capacity, isn't it? You know, if you go beyond it, that's when injuries can happen, right?
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. And you also put yoga in the setting of seasonal shifts. And we're talking just shortly before a seasonal shift from autumn into early winter as reckoned in the ancient texts. Now, the home yoga practice workshop uses this every 2 months change as both something to attune to, which I think is vitally important and gives guidance about appropriateness for seasons, but also we preserve that in part because touching in once every 2 months attunes you to your body over time. And so I understand that there are lots of seasonal variations, and goodness knows, climate change. Setting some of that aside, when we're in this transition from autumn conditions toward winter conditions, how does that interact for a yoga practice and then for dinacharya more globally?
So your yoga practice is a steady thing. You do it every single day. So that is your natural rhythm. But as the seasons change, according to Ayurveda, the seasons are not just about the months and the sun, but it's a combination, it's a dance of 6 various qualities. And those qualities are light and dark, or you could say light meaning lightweight and heavy. So that's sort of in the same thing. It could be dry and wet, and then hot and cold. So we are shifting from a place where we've got what we call pitta, which is that heat, right? Pitta is shifting and kapha is accumulating. Kapha is cold, wet, mucousy, and that's what's happening in this season. So in the autumn season, we're likely to have more pitta type issues. And here in the desert, we see it very clearly, where all of a sudden at the end of a day, we have this heat flash that comes from the earth, you know, because the changes of our weather. During the day it's hot, at night it's cold, but sometime in the early evening or late afternoon we have this heat flash, right? So that's considered autumn. And then we have this cold coming in. So the cold does this, it constricts the system somewhat. It forces our heat into the center part, into our belly, so we get hungrier, where we have more capacity if we have good digestion. So this is all specifically for a healthy person, you know, within, you know, a specific range, you know. So it brings it into the center of the body. So for a yoga practice, what we want to do is we want to make sure that as we transition, we're making sure that the pitta is assisted in coming down. We support the movement. You know, we're not doing a lot of movement, but we're doing some movement. Sun salutations are fabulous, actually pretty much year round, except for in high summer. And then what we want to do is we want to support the kapha. So anything that's opening up the chest, opening up, so any pranayama, these are really excellent places because the kapha lives here. And we know that because this is also the time when we get coughs and colds and flus and all kinds of other things, anything that has mucus. And what we want to do is we want to use gentle movement in order to help move that through while we maintain our heat in our guts. I hope that answered your question.
That's a beautiful response. Yes. So now that we're shifting into the cooler part, so we're in this transition time or this joint or juncture. And people who watch this may be familiar with some of the writing that I've done about why the Ritu Sandhi or the juncture is so important. How would you ease in some of the new practices and ease out some of the autumn practices?
So in general, when we look at these Ritu Sandhis, we're looking at a 4-week period. Right. So you have that center date, and then you have 2 weeks on either side. So you very slowly on the autumn side, you're removing very slowly some of those practices that are pitta reducing or heat reducing, because you want to start maintaining the heat. You slowly reduce that. So you're doing, and you're supporting liver functions and bitter taste. And then you're slowly adding heavier foods. You're slowly adding heavier. Actually, winter is really good for movement itself because kapha, we need that movement. So you can actually start doing some more moving exercises or asana, or breath that brings in some more movement in the chest. Agnisara, which, we can do Agnisara at that time to help increase that yes, we call Agni not only fire, but it's our digestive capacity. So it's, so we need to do that because the foods are heavier. Everything is heavier during the wintertime. So we slowly do that. We still maintain some of the autumn things, but then on the winter side of things, on the Hemanta side of things, we are letting go of the autumn. We're pretty much letting go of those and really adding in more. So you're never really, you're always doing everything in like month periods. You're never really in one season as far as your food is concerned, except for now. Now it's we have, our seasons aren't stable. Our seasons are very irregular. So we've got some things to do, and what we want to do, one of the best ways to handle it, the text, the Ashtanga Hridayam, says that we should be doing a lot more praying and meditating and chanting and things like that. But I say that we really need to do things in the middle path, on nothing too extreme. So you're always dealing with all of the doshas, your vata dosha, pitta dosha, kapha dosha. So you're always managing those things, and you're feeding every single part of the body. And that's the way of being sacred and self-care, is to not get too extreme in any way.
Yes. And to care for the transitions. Yes. There's so many things that I would like to pick up on in what you've said. How would you mind sharing with us a little bit of how your dinacharya is shifting? So let's stipulate we both live, and I live in a high mountain town, but we both live in the desert Southwest. And so things are much drier here. And conditions are a little bit different. But in general, how are you shifting your dinacharya, your just daily habits?
Well, I keep my daily habits the same.
Yeah.
Through I keep them stable. What's challenging at this point in time, and I'll admit, I'm completely transparent. None of us are perfect. We're all trying to deal with life, right?
Right.
So the challenge is, um, when do I wake up? Because we just now had this time change as well,
Yes.
and so everything is a little more off. What I do find, though, is that it's the foods that need to be adjusted. I find that I'm hungrier earlier in the day. And that's a natural thing. So if I'm hungrier early in the day, I'm going to be eating slightly more food and slightly heavier food. So I transitioned um, from a very light breakfast to now I'm going more towards the eggs and heavier things, or oatmeal, which is warming, so I'll do that in the morning. And then I have my lunch, which is also a pretty solid meal, and that again is going heavier. So I'm bringing in more sweet potatoes and more squashes, everything that's in the store right now. That's gorgeous, right? I will also add stewed apples to perhaps my early morning, with a little bit of cinnamon and nutmeg. All of these things, this pumpkin spice that we're going through right now is, it's perfect for the season. So we don't have to do Indian food. We can do what's seasonal here. And then I find that my dinners are now extremely light. And there are some people who don't have that extremely light dinner, and they need to have food in the evenings. And it's basically my constitution. I just need like something very, very simple, always warm, never cold, no ice cream. So I'll have that. Well, you want cold, you can have cold. Ice cream is like kapha. It's white, cold, sweet, right? So it looks like snow, if snow was packed. So you're adding that to your system. So guaranteed you'll have a cold. But so I don't do that very much in the evening. I very, very light at this point in time. And that seems to work for me. The idea is to listen to the body and to understand the difference between hunger, real hunger, and thirst, and mental hunger, which is a completely different thing. So that's how I'm changing. But the basic timings, I try to maintain the same timings. It's a little challenging right now because of the time change.
That's really interesting to me. So I strive to wake up adjacent the sunrise, which is difficult for me when the sun's coming up at 7:15, because I'm definitely up before that, but before the time change, the sun comes up so late, and I can't sleep as late as that would have me sleep. And I also realize that this is I have a life where I can wake up earlier in some seasons and later in others. And so many people, they just have to get up at the same time, right? And that's stabilizing. Please go ahead.
Yes, it is stabilizing. It's very much stabilizing. And waking up at dawn, or just as the sunrise, is said to be one of the healthiest times to wake up. It's called Brahma Muhurta. But again, depending on your constitution and your health, beyond your lifestyle, it may not be the right thing for you. There are some people who are Vata people, it may not be the smartest thing to wake up at dawn.
And this is getting us a little deep into this topic, but I think it's interesting to also note, and there are vata times of life too, right? And so in the latter stages of our life, it is highly appropriate, even for other people with other constitutions, to get more sleep if that's something they can do.
Exactly. And certainly when you are overly stressed or you have some illness going on, resting is the thing to do. So when I speak dinacharya in general, these are just guidelines. These are simple guidelines. And a lot of people get overwhelmed because there are so many things that are needed to be done during the day.
Thank you for addressing this. Yes.
So many things to be done. And you don't have to do them all. You do one thing, you're ahead of the game. You know, you do one thing and you just get that into your system until it is a no-brainer, until you wake up and you go, I forgot something. Or maybe you can add something on later on. And some of these things are, they come from ancient India, right? And for many Americans, Westerners, we have no idea what it is, what something like tongue scraping is. We have no idea what that is. We're learning, right? Mm-hmm. Our dentists are telling us to do it, but they're not giving us really good guidelines of when and how and what and all of those kinds of things. Mm-hmm. So each one of these things, it's like, oh, okay, I'm young and I'm needing to learn this and I'm needing to get this into a habit. So don't try to shift everything at once. Do one thing and get comfortable with it.
Oh, yes. True wisdom from Dr. Chitra Eder. And I'm, yes to everything she said. I could talk to you forever, and I look forward to having another conversation here on the podcast. For now, Chitra can be found at ayurvedawithchitra.com, AYURVEDAWITCHITRA.com, and is active on Instagram at chitra.eder, that's CHITRA.EDER. Plus, if you liked her approach, the ease with which the ease that she brings into conversation and care of her patients, you can join her on Facebook in her Menopause No More Sisterhood group, which I think is a beautiful thing. You can also reach her at hello@ayurvedawithchitra.com. Our home yoga practice tip for today: having trouble knowing what to do on the mat? 3 questions. What's your favorite teacher's warm-up? What standing pose immediately comes to mind today? What few poses almost always come right before Shavasana in your favorite teacher's class? Give yourself some time with those questions. Roll out your mat. Set a timer for 15 to 30 minutes, because keeping trust with your container is important for the longevity of your practice. Now, remember your teacher's voice while you warm up, while you practice that standing pose, and then any others that it inspires. You are tapping into your body's wisdom. Remember to respect the time that you have, and then do at least one of the before Shavasana poses. And then remember, Shavasana is a whole practice, and it's not yoga without Shavasana. Rest for 10% of your practice time. That's 1.5 to 3 minutes. You have that for rest. Come up slowly, feel your breath, ohm it out, and rock your day. We are glad you are here. Once again, thank you so much, Chitra. It's been an honor to speak with you, to get to know you, and I look forward to other times. Until next time, let us know about your home yoga practice and home yoga practice questions. I'll see you on the mat, and happy yoga day, and may they all be yoga days.